Hi everyone. Today we are here with Mike Cohen from Kirtan Leader Institute, and we are going to do a lesson in Western Kirtan. And I've got my little music sheet and I've got my harmonium set up, and Mike's gonna run through this process so that if you are sort of curious to know like more about what that would be like to learn this, you can watch me struggle my way through it and get a sense of what that's like in reality. I also want to say that this video is sponsored by Old Delhi Music, who provided this harmonium, and they've been so gracious to send this to me so that we can make content like this. And Mike, I hand the floor to you. Say whatever you'd like to say.
All right. I got a few things to say to start.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm going to say if folks have watched the 5 Things to Know About Harmonium, they will know that I am playing on a Bava Mini and you are playing on a Bava Mini. These are like phenomenal harmoniums from Old Delhi Music. Highly recommended for kirtan, great sound, great sustain, super portable, fits in an airplane overhead, all the great stuff. So they might want to watch that video.
For sure.
And you mentioned that we're going to learn a chant today that we would call Western Kirtan. We did another awesome video called What is Kirtan, talking about all the different ins and outs. And so this is, we're going to work on today a chant that I wrote, and I'll share more about that in a moment. But I would put it very firmly and squarely in the category of Western Kirtan. And what's kind of cool too is that we're moving from the domain of talking about into how to. So, we all know lots of people that can say lots of very interesting things about the history of rock or guitar or kirtan or whatever, and then they pick up an instrument and they clearly haven't spent nearly as much time on the how-to as the learning about. And so this is really how-to, and this is where the rubber hits the road in many ways, and we'll talk about that as we go through as well.
This is going to be really interesting for me because, as it may be apparent, I like guitars, but I have zero keyboard experience other than having to learn to play a little marimba for a high school play and having a sense of where notes are. But that does no way translate to using my hands on a keyboard here, or even just this basic coordination of keeping air in the harmonium. So this will be really interesting for me because although I'm not really familiar with kirtan as a music, it's not that I necessarily listen to, I'm always wanting to inform myself and just learn more, be curious. And so that's why it's really nice that we're getting to do this. And I always encourage people, like, just go and try something, So this is great. This is cool.
Yeah, good for you for having the courage to be vulnerable in this way.
Yeah, and I've been told I have to sing today, so this is going to...
The whole idea here is like we're going to just muddle through. We're muddling. You get bonus points for the more muddling you can do. There's no expectations. But there's also this very interesting thing about just even muddling through creates this profound kirtan experience of being dropped in our body with our heart open and our head receptive. Yeah. So I think it's a lot of fun. Since we spoke last, my band was invited to play monthly and build kirtan community at an incredible venue here in Boulder called E-Town Hall. And many folks may have heard of the E-Town radio show, which is Nick Forster. His band was Hot Rise. He's a phenomenal bluegrass musician. And then the last time we played there in October, we did the song that we're going to learn today, which is called Om Shanti Om. About, 10, 12 years ago, I was teaching a private session to a yoga teacher here in Boulder, Colorado, and she was struggling to learn what I was sharing. And something just kind of downloaded into me, and I taught her this little thing that we're going to learn today. It's like super duper simple. And it's like one of the first chants that we teach in our level 1 classes. And it just showed up, and I taught it to her, and she loved it. And so then I started teaching it to other students, and they loved it. And then people started saying, well, why don't you do these at your kirtan events? I was like, no, because like a lot of my music, if you listen to across my 4 albums, a lot of my music is really edgy. And this is like the sweetest chant that I ever wrote. And I wouldn't even say I wrote it. It came through me. And it's been by far my most popular kirtan chant with over 1 million streams. And so what we do at the end, and this will make more sense when we run through it, we do at the end of our kirtan events is we send our singer, one of our singers, out into the audience with a handheld mic, and she invites people in the audience to sing, like lead call in the call and response part. And they also make up their own words. So people are going to see it. You can really plug and play with the words here.
All
So
right.
that was a lot of stuff to say. Let's dive in with
Yeah.
the cheat sheet.
Okay, so I have my sheet printed out, and I can put this on screen so that people can see this as well. Tell me where we start. What do we? Where? How do I start here?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so now let me just share. If you were taking one of our courses, you would go online and there would be a video of me talking you through the sheet, which I'm going to do in a sec. There'd be a video of my hands overhead, like playing and me talking you through it, and then a video of me practicing. You'd find the sheet. So what I want to do with the sheet here is just tell you this. So at the top, I've got the title and who wrote it, and I've got a link where you can listen to it in Spotify. And we teach this in a couple different versions. We have a version that we call 3-note chords, and I somewhat humorously call what we're about to do 1-note chords, which is sort of funny because that's clearly a misnomer, but it's gonna make sense. And I try and make terms that make sense to people, but aren't like musical terms like legato or rubato or whatever, because that
Yeah.
just really
An, e-
confuses.
an easy entry into the process. Yeah.
That's the idea. And then we have what's called iTabla settings. Now we're not going to get into that, but there's a really cool app called iTabla Pro. It's
Yeah.
just on Apple products, costs 25 bucks, one-time fee, and it's basically an Indian drum machine. And so I'm giving you the basic settings so you could practice along with
That's
that.
actually great that you have this here, and I would also like to say that I can highly recommend iTabla. It's pretty much the standard tabla app, and in fact, if you go back a long time, I have a whole video on iTabla, which I'll link to. It's from probably probably almost 10 years old now at this point. But yeah, it's a great app. So anyone who's looking for that, and if you're on iPhone, I would definitely say get that. It's definitely worth it. So
Yeah. So it'll do a drone in various
yes,
different permutations, but it also gives you the beat, the tabla, and the metal
correct. To
percussion.
play to, yeah. And do you want me to? Should I set that up for today, or do you feel like that's for right
Uh,
now not necessary?
Yeah, I think not necessary. We
Okay.
want to kind of just hit the marks and get the basic moves, and then because just coordinating, pumping with your left hand and playing with the right hand and singing and the words,
Yeah.
that's a lot. And then to be like really thinking about keeping time, that's kind of the next step.
Yeah.
You
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. All right.
Take the pressure
Great.
off. And then we've got it says chords. So this is C, F, and G. Technically, for all the musicians out there, we're really going to be playing what I would call C5, either F9, no third, or C sus, and then we're going to C major, and then we're going to you could call it D sus4. There's different ways to talk about what the chords are. So you notice on the sheet as we get into the chords is that really what I call the chords is at this point is kind of irrelevant because the very important thing here is I'm giving people the actual notes to play and I'm giving them the actual fingers to use.
Hmm.
So we're going to get into this, but when it says C and G and then it says 1 and 5, I'm telling you you're going to play the C and I always give the lowest note first. So the C would be, to the left of the G. The G would be to the right of the C. We'll get into all this. And 1 and 5 is what fingers are you going to use? So this is fingers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if you're playing lefty, which you could do, I don't recommend. The system would still work, but it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we don't need to worry
Got
about
it. Yeah.
that. And so people don't have to worry about what's the chord. Now, folks have told me that this system, which I created, is kind of the proprietary Cohen system of notation for playing harmonium here, is a lot like guitar tabs. And I'm not a guitar player, so you could tell me.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of guitar tablature, which is a really straightforward way, if you don't know sheet music, to visualize sort of what the frets you would play on the guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so it's sort of intuitive and easy to use, and you don't have to read Western music or you don't even have to understand Western theory. And, in the Indian classical music tradition, they use sargam, which is very confusing for people that want to just learn how to chant the Western music. Right?
Yeah.
So the whole idea is to streamline it, get you going as soon as possible. Now, one thing I'm going to say is that we have some notes here. And I'm going to explain this a little bit more fully. but it says when for the melody section. So the top bit here is just so that we can play the melody note on the harmonium and match that pitch and get the melody dialed in. And then, so that's chords, melody notes, fingers, and lyrics. And then the lower section, chords, chord notes, fingers, and lyrics, is okay, what are we playing on the harmonium as we're singing that melody that we just practiced up above?
Got it. Okay.
So first we're
Okay.
going to practice the melody, and then we're going to practice the chords, and then we're going to put it together, and then we have a whole bunch of lyrics we can play with.
Okay. All right.
How do you
Well,
feel?
I'm officially nervous.
Nauseously optimistic that this will work.
All right. Okay. Well, lead the way here. Let's jump in.
Okay, let's jump in. Okay, so we're in the section, the top section with a notation that says chords, melody notes, fingers, and lyrics. And if you look, as they proceed down vertically, we got a line of chords, we got a line of the melody notes, we got a line of the fingers, and we got a line of the lyrics. Now, what I say in the notes here is that you can assign your fingers just for playing. Now, that I don't want to overly confuse things, but people are like, what fingers should I use when I play these melody notes? So assign your finger number 1, which is your thumb, if you're playing righty, to D.
D. Okay.
That's going to play the D, and then 2 will play E, 3 will play F, 4 will play G, and 5 will play, your pinky will play A. And so we're going to be playing one melody note at a time, and this is the fingers that we want to use as we're playing each of those melody notes.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk you through this just a little bit more. What I want to do is we're going to start by singing the numbers.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to demonstrate. So I'm playing the G. I'm pumping. Oh, one more thing to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I have this on top of my harmonium
Oh, okay.
right above the keys. So where the
Yeah.
keys end, there's a strip of wood.
Yep.
And I really invite people to do this, which is what I call sticking up the harmonium. But you know the keyboard really well. It helps.
Yeah. Yeah. So in my case, like I know where C and D are just as bass. I mean, my kids take piano, so I have like
Yeah.
some basic understanding. But
Yeah.
the way I always can easily remember is that the 2 black keys, you have a white key in between, and that's D, as if the dog is in the doghouse, right? So that's how I remember that. The little black keys make the doghouse, and the white keys the dog.
Uh-huh.
It's a simple
right.
way I remember that. So
That's great. That's great. So
Okay.
we're only on white keys today.
That's great.
Just to say, we're only on white keys. Like as we get more advanced, we start bringing in the black keys, but
Sure.
we're trying to make it as simple as possible. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to squeeze the bellows, and I'm going to put my 4th finger on the G. And then I'm going to go my 5th finger on the A, my 4th finger on the G, and my 3rd finger on the F. And then 4th finger on G, 3rd finger on F, 2nd finger on E, 3rd finger on F, 2nd finger on D, E, sorry, 1st finger on P. So what I want to say as we're doing this, you notice that I've got a note, and then I go higher, and then I come down 2. And then I go up higher, and I come down 2. I go up higher, I come down 2. So it sounds like this. If I were to sing the words while I'm doing this, and see if you can identify the pattern that's happening. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. So I'm going to do this another way. I'm just going to go 4, 5, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Do this another way. I'm going to go with letters. G, A, G, F, G, F, E, F, E, D. And I'm going to do another way. I'm going to talk about the pattern. So I'm going to go note, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down.
Okay.
Now, I'm kind of throwing a lot at you really quickly, but is that what I'm trying to do is articulate the same thing in three or four different
Yeah,
ways. So if we think about the pattern, we got note, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down.
totally.
And if we're looking at the letters, that would be G, A, G, F, G, F, E, F, E, D. And if we're thinking about the fingers and using the numbers, it would be 4, 5, 4, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to
Okay.
throw in the words.
All right.
All right, this is where I'm wondering if I sing and you sing along with me. It might be a little messy,
Okay.
but it kind
Yeah,
of
we'll
gets
see. We'll
us.
see. Hopefully we don't. So obviously this is on Zoom, so we'll see how delay and audio translates, but fingers crossed.
Right, right. Because the other option is just to have you do it, which is a little vulnerable, but we,
Yeah, yeah. Well, I don't think of myself as a singer in any sort of the way.
yeah.
So in some ways, that's the part I'm most nervous about. But okay, so we're starting on the G or our
Yep,
fourth finger, I should say.
yeah.
Um, all right. So do you count this off?
Yeah, well, we're not going to waste so much about time. We'll be a little bit free flowing on
Sure.
time. We'll be time-ish, but I'm wondering, I can pick, but if you had to pick, would it be easier to start with the number of the finger or the letter of the note?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I'm gonna go with number, and the reason I'm gonna go with number is I think that's my immediate reaction was just to like when you were singing it and I was going, okay, well I'm it was less one less thing for me to translate in my head, right?
Mhm, mhm.
And at the same time, like when you were doing the letters, I know sort of when the notes fall, so that was fine, and I can read Western sheet music, so I understand the concept of where they are. And probably a lot of people watching this video might not. So I'm going to say let's go with numbers because maybe that has the broadest appeal.
I like that. That's great. I like your reasoning. We debate back and forth, me and the other Kirtan Leader Institute teachers, on what's the best way to do it, and all that. But numbers is good because we're trying
Yeah.
to make it as simple as possible to get our body to do something. And the more we do the thing, the more we embody it, and then more attention frees up to put elsewhere. So
All
that's a
right.
good place. So let's just do the numbers. So I guess I will count it in. We'll be
Okay.
in time-ish. We'll see what happens, but I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4.
Four,
4, 5,
five,
4,
four,
3,
three,
4,
four,
3,
three,
2,
two,
3,
three,
2,
two,
1. Let's start again.
one.
4,
Four,
5,
five,
4,
four,
3,
three,
4,
four,
3,
three,
2,
two,
3, 2,
three, two,
1. One more time. One more
one. All right, one more time.
4,
Four,
5,
five,
4,
four,
3,
three,
4,
four,
3,
three,
2,
two,
3,
three,
2,
two,
1.
one. Okay.
We're in. We're
We're
in.
in.
Do you, how would you feel about trying that on your own?
Uh, yeah, sure, why not?
I always edit it out. Let me say one thing. Let me say two
Yeah.
things. Say two things. One thing about this chant is that what's kind of cool is it's very lined up. So all these initial notes come in on beat one for the musicians out there. So they're kind of very lined up, which makes it super accessible and super easy for people to find their way in. And the other thing I wanted to say is that, bonus points for muddling. So just see what you can do.
Yeah,
And
all right. Let's do it. I'm going to do it. Okay.
all right.
All right, so 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
That's great. That was great.
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
great. Okay.
Great.
Fantastic.
Look at me. Look at me.
Look at you. We're off and running. And
Off and running.
it seems like this fits your vocal range pretty well. I didn't hear you straining at the top.
Yeah, no, it feels pretty comfortable.
Okay.
And yeah, this is fine. All
That's
right.
great.
So now what's next step?
Okay. What the next step is I would say, and we can maybe shortcut the process by having just you do this if you are willing to continue being crash test dummy here, which is to do the same exact thing, but speak the letters
Okay.
of the notes that you're playing.
G, A, G, F, G, F, etc.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. So we go start with G, right? So
Yep.
G,
Start G.
A, G, F, G, F, E, F, E, D, G, A, G, F, G, F, E, F, E, D.
Awesome.
Okay.
Now let me say two things real quick. So
Yeah.
first of all, you're doing a great job of plunking out the notes on the harmonium and matching the pitch vocally. Some people have a hard time with that. So it could be more like a J. They might need to really but the harmonium's giving you the pitch. And so
Yeah.
if that's really helpful, it's supporting you. The other thing is every time you do this, you're building embodiment. You're practicing it. And when you practice it with the numbers, that's one way. And when you practice the same exact thing with your body, but you're doing the letters, that's a slightly different way. And it's all just kind of like building in this embodiment,
Yeah.
which is super duper helpful. Now, if there are two more ways you could practice this, but maybe we'll just do one of them. So another way is you could do the thing where I went note up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, just to, pattern recognition is really helpful, because we've got the same kind of pattern that's happening through the whole thing. But what if we just went to the words, which are Om, Shanti, Om, Shanti, Om, Shanti, Om. Shanti means peace. And
Okay.
hopefully as we're doing this practice and saying this mantra, we're generating a sense of peace for ourselves and
Great.
others.
And
Would you like?
when I'll try with the words here. Should I do the second line, the I am piece, you are piece?
You sure can, yeah.
All right,
Now this is
I'm gonna go for it. I'll say one of the things that's immediately interesting, just as a on my end, is a couple things. Is one, the vibration off of the instrument is because you're kind of connected to it. My arm's sort of resting here, right? So there is sort of like a feedback loop in regards to sort of pitch and sort of just feeling those frequencies a little bit, which is interesting. Not that you don't get that with an acoustic guitar or something, but it's big and it's here, right? So there's an immediacy there that's interesting. And the second thing that I find is that's a little stumbly for me is this concept of the bellows, wanting to pump that as if I'm tapping my foot, but knowing or feeling that feedback of the instrument that actually it has enough air right now. I don't need to pump it because there's some sort of resistance there, or I need to do a shallower pump, or maybe it now needs more. And that's an interesting feeling that where I might want to just play to a 4/4 beat and intrinsically have a sense of that, the hand controlling air, might not be on that same sort of rhythm, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that's what, just like one little thing that's in the back of your head that you're going like, wait,
Yeah.
so
Can I interject one quick
yeah,
comment? So there is this element of rubbing your belly and patting your head going on here, which is why embodiment is so important. Because when we are learning something, and I always say thinking kills kirtan, because when we're thinking, we're learning, we're thinking, and all of our attention is going, oh my God, my left hand, my right hand. But once we build embodiment, it goes from like taking 90% of our attention to like 10%.
yeah,
And that frees up all this space to be like, oh, how's my singing going? And what am I
mhm,
feeling? The other thing I wanted to say, and we could talk about this more, but in terms of pumping the harmonium, that you're right on. And one thing I do is I just kind of feather it,
yeah,
like a little, and I do like to pump on every beat. I think it's a good practice to be putting some consciousness on that left hand and just saying, okay, I'm going to try and squeeze on every beat so it's not randomly going out and randomly coming in. And and the metaphor I have is that it's like you're driving down the highway in a car trying to do 65 miles per hour, but you don't have cruise control. So
yeah,
what's your foot doing? It's just feathering that gas.
yeah.
And so this is just a way to introduce a little practice. I don't say necessarily this is the way to do it or always do it, but a little bit of feathering on the beat could be a good way to practice. But
Yeah, no, this is just all these, just these different things that you don't think about. Um, certainly I've watched plenty of harmonium videos, the different types of music that we talk about in the 5 Things to Know About Harmonium video, so everyone can watch that to get more. But in that process, like you just don't even think about like all the coordination that's going on. But all right, I'm gonna give this a try, and we'll see how it goes. So, okay, I'm definitely nervous though. Okay, so we start on 4. Okay. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. I am peace. You are peace. We are peace. Okay.
thumbs up. That's great. That's
All
great.
right.
Let me say a couple things real quick, a
Yeah.
little commentary. First of all, awesome. That's wonderful. You're doing it. The I am peace, you are peace, we are peace. That's the translation because Shanti means peace, right?
Hmm.
And so if you look at the lyrics, you'll notice that there are 8 lyrics, but they're really 4 pairs of lyrics. There's
Yeah.
the Sanskrit mantra, and then there's the English chant. Now, like English, what I want to say, translation, right? Now, what I was saying about that E-Town Hall where we're playing that's really fun is when our singer goes out there, people will make up their own
Hmm.
words because it's very plug and play. So they'll
Yeah.
say, I am music, you are music, we are music, all
Yeah.
kinds of things. Really creative. The other thing is that what I love that you did, and this is a little bit for more advanced musicians, is the Om is held for 3 beats. And the Shanti occupies 1 beat, so 2 syllables. So you could say
Okay.
2 eighth notes, right?
Hmm.
If we want to bring in music talk, which I never
Yeah.
do, and that's kind of the way that the whole pattern goes. And you played that. So my guess is when you go and have a little bit more of a grip on this, and you're feeling comfortable, you say, "Hey, I'm going to put on the iTaba." You're going to really do well with that because you're already
Okay.
playing the time.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's just good luck on my part, I guess. Yeah. Um, all right. So let's say I was a student. I wanted to go through sort of more lessons with you. Let's say,
Well,
right?
hang on one sec. Hang on one
Yeah.
sec. So we're
Yeah.
only partway through.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So this is what this is. We just made sure that you are singing the melody properly.
Oh, okay.
Now, what I want you to do, this will be fun, forget everything we've done so far.
Okay.
Everything.
Yep.
Because now what we're going to do is we're going to play where it says chord, notes, fingers, and lyrics. We're going to work on the chords, and then we're going to put it all together. So
Okay.
we got part 1 down. We need part 2, and then we put it together for part 3. So here's what I want you to do: see where it says C major, C and G, 1 and 5. So put your thumb on the C, and your G your pinky on the G. And I
Okay.
love the way you're in the middle of the harmonium. You're not way down at the bottom, way up at the top.
Okay.
So now that thumb and pinky, this is going to be different. You know, you're going to put them down and you're not going to move them for the whole song, for the chords. So you can staple those fingers down, you can duct them down, you can super glue them down. Those
Yes.
fingers never come up. And then if you look at F major, it's C, F, G, 1, 4, 5. So we're just dropping in the fourth finger on F. Yep, ring finger goes in on F.
Okay.
And then the third chord is C, E, G. So we're taking out the F and we're dropping in the third finger on E. And then we're taking out the E and we're dropping in the second finger on D. And now this is addition by subtraction. We're taking out the D and going back to C and G. All right, so you see the pattern. We're just walking
Yeah.
down. We're putting in the F or the fourth finger. We're swapping in the E on the third finger. We're swapping in the D on the second finger. And we're going to go back to C and G.
Hmm.
Now, here's what I want to do just to start. We're just going to sing Om. So I'll demonstrate and you can join if you want. And then we'll
Okay.
put in the chanting.
Okay.
So I'm going to go Om. Here comes the D. Om. Back to C and G. Om. Adding the F. Om. Throw in the E. Om. Throw in the D. Om. We're going to do it again. So this is what I like to call fence posting. We're playing the chords, but we're just singing the word that comes in on the downbeat on the one that comes in when the chord as it changes. I've written up the chant sheet in a way that I'm trying to illustrate in space on the sheet where the syllables come in on time. So when a syllable like Om is lined up with a chord, that means it comes in on the one or it comes in with the chord.
Got it.
Yeah.
What I was going to say is that in sort of this fence posting, right? This immediately calls back to
Yeah.
me the idea of the tempura drone that you might have in Indian classical music, or even just your sympathetic strings that you have on another instrument, like the sitar that's behind me here. And by changing this note in the middle here, which is now creating this chord, it's although we're using sort of Western chords, it's sort of very much an Indian classical way is the sort of approach to harmony in the sense that you would have a continuous drone in a rag, but then you have certain key notes within that rag that you focus on, and that is sort of how you're playing a sense of harmony within the the drone that's been created, right? And that's creating your tension and release and so forth. So it's interesting to see how this Western kirtan approach is still sort of linked to these sort of concepts that I've learned in Indian classical music. So I like this. It's interesting to see. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right on. Because we're playing that C and G drone, then, each individual note we put in, and that's why I call them one note chords, because
Yeah.
just one note is moving, shifts and the harmony inside of that drone. Now, the thing is that I teach it this way initially because this is like so clear and easy for people to pick up as a start, and then I sequence everything so it gets more
Yeah.
complex. Now, for some people, they hear that CFG or they hear that CDG, and they're so tuned to Western chords that they blah, like blah, they don't like
Yeah.
it. And so, later on, we'll teach people how to do this with what's called three-note chords. So CEG to CFA to CEG to BDG. And it's got a much more very sweet Western sound. And there's a way in which I like to talk about like these one note chords or even two note chords which is a slightly different thing. It's more like artistically, it's like a line drawing or a pencil drawing, but a three-note chord is almost like a photograph, like of a
Yeah.
tree. It's like, boom, that's what it looks like in real life. But then we could even play 4 and 5 note chords, which are more like an impressionistic painting. It's not accurate like a photograph is, but gets to something more and
Yeah.
deeper.
And in the kirtan practice that you would or I should say events or concerts, whatever, you might have like a guitar, or you'll have other Western instruments participating in that, bass players and so forth I've seen. So it's sort of that ability to sort of fuse, you know, full-fledged chords in with these chants and so forth too. So I like seeing how there's still this root to maybe an Indian tradition, but I can see sort of also where it goes to move into its Western traditions too. So in terms of my next steps here then, I guess I'm singing and playing.
You're singing and playing. Now,
Okay.
this is where things get slightly different because
Okay.
the melody note is, moving around stepwise, going up and going down, and our hand is just coming right down one step at a time. So when we fence post, we're basically singing G, and then we sang F, and we sang E, and we sang D. Those are the ohms. So all we're doing is adding in Shanti. So if you want, I can demo one time with a Om Shanti Om with the chords, or you could just dive right in.
Can I try it?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
let's see.
See what
Okay.
happens.
All right. All right, here we go.
No, one more thing,
Yeah.
real quick. Okay, now I don't want you to feel like you have to be like, oh, and everything starts at the same time, like squeezing the harmonium, playing the right hand, singing. Actually, it's more, so I like to say you don't get extra points for being fast like you do in basketball. It's more like golf. You want to approach it and take your time. So you can play your C and G, get yourself settled and centered, and then start singing when you're ready.
Totally. 100%. It's amazing that you pick up on that as a note to give, because that's exactly how I'm feeling. I'm in my head, I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4 to try to like jump in, and that's causing hesitation. But you're right, it's not necessary here. So okay. Oh no.
Well, okay, a hint.
Yeah.
A hint. So tap that G. That's your melody starting note.
I lost my fence post. I went to just using 2 fingers and lost my fence post.
All right, so first of all, this is
Yeah.
awesome. This is awesome. This is great. So all that happened is you had the C and you started with the G, but you got a little distracted. She's doing something new and you're thinking about other things, and that pinky came up. So if you did it exactly like that, but kept the pinky down the whole time and the thumb down the whole time, that would be exactly what we're shooting for.
All right, let me try it again. Om Shanti Om Shanti Om Shanti I am peace. You are peace. We are peace. Your enthusiasm and encouragement is
earns the stadium.
really helpful here.
No, this is great. So that was it right there. That's entirely what we're shooting for. So if I can say a few things of what you're doing that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is it's like golf. You're approaching, you're not running up there and hitting the ball as fast as you can because you get extra points. You're taking your time. You're sticking a finger up in the air and seeing which way the wind's blowing. You're wiggling around, and then you're tapping that G. Oh, so you're finding that pitch. And then when you're ready, you start singing, and you're keeping your C and your G with finger 1 and 5, and you're moving the one finger right where it needs to go, and you got the words going, and you're singing the Sanskrit, and you're singing the English. It's like, that's it.
Okay. All
Now
right.
the one thing that will be helpful is that as you practice and you build up this muscle memory with what you're doing, it's going to shift from requiring 90% of your attention to 10%. It's just
Sure.
going to become this thing. And next step, like where would you keep going here, would be like, okay, at some point I might say, let's have you do all 8 of the lyrics down here, all the 4 pairs. And then I might say, let's have you make up some of your own. Well, that could really throw a wrench into things because now you're thinking,
Sure.
right? I also could say, try it with your eyes closed and see if you can visualize your hand moving with your eyes closed. And then all of this is contributing to this sense of embodiment and ease and comfort. And now you can really sit down and be like, okay, how's my singing? And how's my posture? And if there are other people around, how are they doing?
Yeah. This has been really exciting to do today. I love the nervousness of the butterflies in my belly to expose my self this way, to sort of just jump in and try this. If someone was interested in doing more of this, or they wanted to continue down doing lessons with you, I know you teach online and some in person too in Colorado, Boulder, right? But can you tell people what's the best way to contact you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, well, they can learn more at our website, which is kirtanleader.com, Kirtan. And yeah, we've been doing this for 15 years now. So we've dialed in a lot of things that really make it easy for people to start. But if folks show up and they have tons of keyboard or tons of singing skills, this is the first chant in our level 1 class. And we have 2 level 1s. We have 5 level 2s, 5 level 2.5s. We have a 6-month chant writing class. So we have all different ways people can do things self-paced. They can do things in online groups. They can do things in person if they're here in Boulder. They can work with us one-on-one. So we're very flexible in how we deliver. And this
And
is
I know
like the
that,
very beginning, but people can go really far with it.
yeah, yeah. And I know when we talked before, one of the things you really stressed was that um, the experience of going to a kirtan is a big shift in sort of what this is, even just that being in that group, feeling that group experience. And I know we talked a little bit about, when you go to that event, you don't have to feel like ashamed that maybe you're not a great singer. It's about intent. It's about that sort of group experience in some ways. So certainly, I know you talked about you have this standing sort of gig now that hopefully people can go to. I'm sure they can find events in their local area, right? Is there sort of any sort of resource for that to find out where kirtan happens wherever people live?
Well, there's lots of Facebook groups for Kirtan. So if you, like, for example, I started one called Boulder Chant Community, and I actually started several dozen of them. So like Michigan Kirtan. So if you type in your state or your city and you put in the word Kirtan or Chant Community and you look for a Facebook group, you're liable to find, a place where people are sharing about their local events. And then, there are some Kirtan artists that tour around. Not all that many because of the economics of
Sure.
music, but Krishna Das would be one, and Sanatam Kaur are often touring, and it's amazing to see them, And yeah, I think going to a community event is amazing because there's 3 elements that are incredibly important. Matter of fact, they're written about by an author named Jamie Wheel, who wrote an incredible book called Recapture the Rapture, and he called them with these Latin words communitas, catharsis, and ecstasis. So basically, community, belonging, right? Being with your tribe. There's catharsis, which is healing, which is bring more of yourself into yourself. And sometimes people go to kirtan and they just start crying and they don't even know why, right? And something is healing. And then there's ecstasis, ecstasy, which is connecting with something bigger than ourselves. And that's what's happening in kirtan. at an event, and of course there are, you know, local folks and there's national professional folks. There's different levels of all this, and then this is really bringing it home and saying, hey, it was great. I got to see Krishna Das one time, and maybe in a year I'll see him again. Or I like chanting with my local community, but you know what? I want to do this every day at home, and I want to have access to the energy and the healing and the connection to something bigger. And so what we did today is just like the first baby step into, you know, this practice. And now you got a chant that you can play, and it's simple and it's got a lot of words, and you can even get creative and make up your
Yeah.
own. You know?
Yeah. This has been a lot of fun. I want to thank you again for doing this. And I want to, of course, thank Old Delhi Music for providing this harmonium so that we could even make this content. I know this Bava line we spoke about in depth in our last video, and I've spoken about in other videos, but the quality of these instruments is really stellar. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do this. So it's great.
And kudos to you, Jeff, for being willing to show up and step into something that you don't already know how to do and be vulnerable and muddle your way through. And that is a really very powerful approach to learning. And it takes a lot of courage and strength to exhibit that much vulnerability. So I really appreciate
Well,
you.
I will bashfully take your praise, and and I think we'll end it there. Everyone, please make sure to check out Mike's website and go continue to learn more about that. And there'll be links for information on this harmonium and others and our past videos and everything else we've mentioned. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
This video would not have been possible without the help of our sponsor, Old Delhi Music, who supplied the harmoniums. I've been so thrilled working with the team over at Old Delhi Music for the past few years on both sitar and harmonium videos. So easy to work with and so professional. And the quality of these Bava harmoniums that Nick over at Old Delhi, he made his own factory to make harmoniums. He's so dedicated to quality. If you are looking for something that's top notch and with really, really good attention to detail, I don't think you can beat what Old Delhi provides. I also want to thank our patrons over on Patreon. It's people like you that allow me to make videos like this and focus on quality over quantity. Hopefully we all think it's quality. Everyone's name is on screen now, and if you want to support what I'm doing and you want access to exclusive content and other behind the scenes stuff and outtakes and other goodies, come join me over on Patreon. And finally, take a moment to like and subscribe. Okay, I think I got all the plugs in. All the plugs are in. I've made all the plugs. Okay, well if that didn't make you want to turn off the video, I don't know what does.